Elden Ring Nightreign. I've put my hours into this game. I have like 150 plus hours in this game. I have a platinum on it. I've beaten a few of the Everdark bosses. I've done the even a few rounds in Deep of Night. I've not got super far into it, but it's a little more sweaty for me. But I've even tried some of that. And after all of those hours, after everything I've done in the game, the worst part by far of this game, and there's a lot of things to criticize on this game. I don't think it's perfect. I give it a 7 out of 10. But one of the worst, if not the worst thing in this game has got to be the randoms that you match up with in the queues to fight these bosses. Now, if for some reason you're new to Nightreign, you don't know a lot about the game, Nightreign is basically a boss rush Souls game where you are the aim of the game is to defeat as many bosses and enemies as possible so you can be the highest level by the end of night 2. You go by night 1, defeat a boss, night 2, defeat a boss, and then night 3 you then defeat the final night lord that you've chosen to fight. A rinse and repeat. You have, I think, so you had 8 base game ones and then 2 DLC night lords. And through it all, by far the most frustrating part of all of it is the people that you match with in these games. I have never in my life encountered players with such low critical thinking skills. And I'm going to get into a little bit of like things FromSoft could or should have done to negate some of this. I think it's a couple of different things. Nightreign is a game you can't approach purely casually, as in you need to have some base level of knowledge for Souls games in general. If you're coming into this brand new, I mean, I'm sure you can learn this game, but it's going to be harder, and I think you are benefited greatly if you've played specifically Elden Ring, but even games like Dark Souls, Bloodborne. Those are going to help you significantly in just understanding the mechanics of the game, of how these work, understanding iframes, weapons, how the game plays, and things like that. Well, yeah, just help you significantly. Also, this game is an uphill climb if you have put your hours into regular Souls games. It is a rush. You cannot just sit and stand around. If you're not moving, you are losing. It's very much a team-based thing if you are doing trios, even duos. The way the game is balanced is very much around having 3 players that are all kind of locked in together, coming up with a strategy, clearing out the most that they can through the entire map as efficiently as possible, so that by the time you reach the final Night Lord, you are ideally level 15, which is the max level you can get in this game. The problem is, one, a lack of communication avenues, I guess you could say, in the game itself. Unless you're playing with friends through Discord, through, built-in communication services like on PlayStation or Xbox, the only way to communicate with randoms, with people you're just matching with, is through pinging on the map. So I'm saying, hey, let's go to this church, let's go to this camp, whatever. I ping it on the map, and they can ping on top of it to confirm that, like, hey, I agree with that. But beyond that, there's no communication in the game. So if I'm matching with 2 randoms and all 3 of us are trying to take charge and try to plot out the best route, it really is up to the other 2 individuals to decide, okay, this guy seems like he knows the best, let's go with him. Except oftentimes that doesn't happen. And you will end up with 2, sometimes 3 people trying to pick out, to do their own routes and fighting, basically infighting through pinging, non-verbal fighting, trying to figure out where to go. And this is when the run will just start to fall apart because no one knows what they're doing and understanding. Because sometimes people will do stuff I don't understand. And then I'm like, well, I'm already in. Let's just see where it goes. And it turns out I learned something from them because they know what they're doing. It would be nice if I could communicate with them. Would be nice if they could say, hey, I've done this route 100 times. If we do what we're doing, we're guaranteed to probably get a win. If I can't talk to the people I don't know, then how am I supposed to know that? And it's just a lack of communication features within the game, I think, hurts this game so much. Just anything would be better than just having only pings. But the other side of this is a lot of times you will match up with people who don't play the game religiously. Fair enough. Everyone's got their life to live. I understand. But you'll match with people who just simply do not understand the game. They think it's you can kind of just run around, do whatever you're doing, or people who are just being stupid. And I'm going to be completely blunt and honest with some of my thoughts on people I've matched up with who you jump into the match, they immediately start running after things, going after bosses you're underleveled for, don't know what you're doing, getting bodied from the jump. And call me toxic. I've gotten to the point in this game where if I start to notice that, I will leave. I don't care about the penalties you get. I've left probably 2 or 3 matches in a row at times, and I've never noticed any kind of like penalization, like not being able to match up with people anymore. I'm sure if you're like spam leaving matches, you'll get penalized, but even though it says, hey, if you leave, you'll get penalized, I've yet to notice a penalization for that. These runs can go from 30 to 45 minutes, even longer sometimes, depending on who you have. And if you're underleveled for stuff, but you're still fighting through a boss, I'm not wasting close to an hour of my time on a run that I know from the jump is completely cooked. There's no reason for it. Why would I do that? And I get some people are trying to learn the game, trying to figure that out, but you have to stick with those people in order to learn the game. And again, I don't want to sound like I'm gatekeeping this game. Not at all. I want people to learn this game. The problem is you have to be open to learning and seeing, hey, this guy seems like he knows what he's doing. Let me follow him. Let me learn. This is how I learned the game. I would match with randoms who were actually good at times in between the 4 other ones that I did that were absolutely terrible. And I would learn from them, okay, these are good routes. This is what to do. You should hit these camps first, and then this and this and this and this, and head to the castle at this point. And by this point, we should be this level. If you start to play the game enough, it actually kind of becomes very repetitious. You're kind of just doing a lot of the same things over and over again because you know this is what works. But you've got to have a strategy, and you got to follow someone with a strategy. And if everyone in the team is just like going off doing their own things, and especially people who don't understand that for whatever reason, they haven't picked up on that with the game, it's just a waste of time. And I'm not wasting my time with team members like that. I'm sorry if this is like a toxic take that I'm leaving queues or leaving matches because people I'm matching with are not sticking with the team, but it's a waste of my time. And quite frankly, it's a waste of their time too when the match is already cooked as well. The lack of communication features within the game itself, I think, is a big reason for that. I don't know if there was ever a way for them to do some sort of ranked matchmaking. I mean, you do want to match with people who maybe don't understand the game fully so they can learn and figure out how to actually play the game. It's a big part of that. And if they're only matching with people who also don't know the game, well, then they're probably never going to get any wins. I understand that. But have some kind of either ranked mode for you to get through the rest of the bosses with, so you can say, hey, I don't want to match fully with randoms. I want to go into some sort of ranked Nightreign where I'm matching with people of similar skills so we can level up together through the rankings and hopefully match with people that actually know what they're doing. That would be great because you do get that a little bit with the Everdark stuff. I've noticed if I do an Everdark boss, I am far more likely to get a team of people who actually know what they're doing because they're people who are actually big into this game. They understand the routes. They understand how the game works. They're just much more locked in. They know how to actually play the game. And I've had better runs in Everdark than I do with the base game regular bosses. I was able to get through the Everdark balancers in like 3 tries. Just the regular balancers in the game probably took me close to like 15 times playing with randoms. And put me back on the other one. Put me back on the other one. But something, I think that goes to show that there is a way to do some sort of ranked matchmaking. Again, maybe you can have it separate, like some people, if you want to do ranked, you can, and match with people who are like in your same tier, or you can do just fully matching with the randoms. I think maybe something like that could have worked. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll get anything like that because it appears that they are, other than doing patches and things like that, probably about to like completely just stop doing stuff with Nightreign. We've got the last DLC. There's nothing more planned. They even cut funding, if I'm not mistaken, for the current DLC that came out in December. So they weren't able to do everything that they really wanted to do with it to begin with. So I don't expect a lot of those quality of life things that I would like to see. Things like that, like a ranked mode, like there's other things I wish they would do. I would love for them to add a mini map. That would be great. I would love for them to add a timer for the storms. Both things that Fortnite does that Nightreign is clearly taking inspiration from, but for some reason, again, doesn't have a timer, doesn't have a mini map. And I know the storms in Nightreign are at a specific time every time. Like if I'm not mistaken, it's always the same duration. Even still, it's not like I've got my phone up here like, oh, let me hit a timer every time I start a match so I know when the storm's about to close. And it's just not happening. You kind of, if you played the game enough, you kind of go off of feeling. But just things like that would just make the game better to play. I think this was very much a test for FromSoft to see if they could even do a game like this. And I think a lot of the things that worked well in this game, they're going to bring forward into their single player games and implement more of these like multiplayer features into those games as just like stuff that's there, similar to how you've had invasions in Souls games for years. There's going to be probably more and new multiplayer aspects into their games going forward, which if they're implemented well, I think that's perfectly fine. As long as they're not taking away from like the core of the single player experience. But look, if you're new to Nightreign, I would say get into enough matches to where you can start to pick up on people who understand what they're doing in the game and learn from them and understand when to say, hey, this guy knows what they're doing, let me follow him. And you are probably much more, especially since the game has been out for so many months, you've got absolute pros out there now that you can match with and go from there, learn from those people, and then you can start making your own calls and contributing to the team. I started out, I was like, okay, let me see if I can match with people who know what they're doing, learn from them. And now I have a pretty good grasp on it to now the point I'm able to run runs with my friends and defeat the Night Lords, Whereas before we were lost. We didn't know what we were doing. And I kind of took a step back, did some runs by myself, figured out the game. And, now we have a pretty good idea of what we do when we play together. But I don't want to blame people who are like new to the game, but also you just can't just be running off and leaving the team. Like you will get downed, and then me and the other person we're on the other side of the map, and we can't come back and save them. And now they've lost a level, probably lost their runes, and the whole run is more or less thrown. Unless me and this other person are just absolutely going crazy, we're not recovering from that. Especially, and I've had it happen multiple times in a run. And when that happens, it's like, all right, I'm out. I'm gone. I can't do this. I can't do this. I think there are ways FromSoft could have made this problem not as much of a problem because of the lack of voice communication in the game or any kind of better just built-in game communication. Just something. But having to fight with randoms to try to even get through a match can be worse than actually fighting the bosses themselves. I joke with my friends, the worst boss in the game is the randoms you meet up with. I'm kind of glad I'm done. Like I've completed the game myself because I needed a break. I needed a break from the randoms because it was, I was raging more over that than, again, the actual enemies or bosses in the game. Dude, man, it's, yeah, if for people who have also played the game, I think a lot of you understand what I'm saying because I've seen other people post about stuff like this. Just some of the logic you see from some of the people that you'll match up with, I just genuinely don't understand. I don't understand. Even if you're a new player, like what are we doing? What are we doing? But this was kind of a rant / hey, FromSoft, there were things you could do better to negate some of this video. I really do like Nightreign. I think it is a very well-made game in terms of its combat. I like the premise of it. I think there were things they could have done to make it even better. And that's why I give it a 7 and not like an 8 or 9. Because with those tweaks, I think it could have been a much better game. I think half of the bosses in the game do kind of suck. I think the game relies on cheap difficulty. Like constant AoE attacks when it comes to their new bosses. Things like that just make the game not that like FromSoft level, oh, this is really, really good. But I do enjoy playing the game when I'm playing it with people who understand what they're doing. And I think that's the big thing to kind of take away from here. Is it a masterpiece? No. Is it a good game? I would say so. But you got to play it with people who understand what they're doing. So thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, follow me on TikTok too, and I will see you guys next time.